Hi everyone, I'm talking today about tips to prevent sexual assault, sexual harassment, and any kind of unwanted or uninvited contact. So my tip today is what to say when someone invites you to their hotel room, but like does a Harvey Weinstein, invites you to their hotel room or somewhere else where you don't want to go for a meeting. So I'm Susan Harrow, Media and Communications Coach. I have trained thousands of people over the past 28 years in verbal and nonverbal communications. Oh, I forgot to say I'm also a black belt in Aikido. So yeah, and I've created a course called True Shield, Verbal Self-Defense for Girls, 12 to 24, and you can find that on my website at prsecrets.com. So this tip comes from, that's why I have this little piece of paper here, is this tip comes from Ty Harris, and she's founder of Date by Design, and she's a dating designer. So this is what she says, the phrase that she used. I'm uncomfortable with those conditions, and I'm happy to move my schedule around to accommodate your availability to meet in a different setting. I think that's a really great phrase. Now, typically, I don't advise that you talk about your feelings, and I'll tell you why. Because they can be argued with. Oh, there's nothing to feel uncomfortable about. I didn't mean anything by it. Oh, come on, you're being silly. It can be contested. Even though we think, well, there are feelings, they shouldn't be contested, they can be. So typically, I don't recommend that you mention your feelings. This, however, is really in relation to this specific situation, I think that it's appropriate. So it's not a hard and fast rule, and yet I think it's something that in general, not talking about your feelings doesn't give any leeway. And I've given you this tip before. Only say what you want or only say what you want their behavior to be. And those are the two really important things, is only say what you want, never say what you don't want. Okay, now I had to say that to make the point, but it would be like here would be an example of saying something I don't want. I don't want you, wait, let me just think about this. Meeting in a hotel room like that is something that could lead to other things that I'm not prepared to do with you. Like that's like naming the situation that you don't want. Okay? So we want to say only the things that we actually want. So in this case, we might even say, you could say, have a variation on this and say, instead of saying I'm uncomfortable with those conditions and I'm happy to move my schedule to meet yours, you might just say that. But in this situation, I think that you have to, because if he moved his schedule and put it in a hotel room at the same time, you kind of need to address that. So you might say, I'd rather not meet, this is still a not, but I'd rather not meet in a hotel room. I prefer to meet in a cafe. Now, if we took it the whole other way and didn't use any kind of feelings or any kind of saying anything other than we want, we would just say, I would prefer to meet in a cafe. That's super simple. And actually, I think I really like that. After I've talked this all through and stuff, I love the fact that Ty came up with this too. And I think that my preference would be, and this is totally up to you, and you can experiment with this. Let's see what the responses are. Let's see if you get any kind of pushback, right? But I would probably say I would prefer to meet let's meet in a cafe. I love and then I would go to the next step to suggest what I want the behavior to be, which is I love name the cafe. It's so cozy and we'll be able to talk there, so my favorite is this cafe. Let's meet there. What do you think? Boom. And then you request an action. So that's probably what I would do, is cut out everything else and just say exactly what I wanted. Hey, instead, why don't we meet in a cafe, or why don't we meet for dinner, right? So either any other kind of suggestion, right? So what I want to say now is that I love the hashtag #MeToo, and I am part of that. And I've also created a hashtag called #NotMe. So what we're doing with Not Me is starting to take preventative action ourselves, because the culture, the laws, the policies have not yet caught up to protect us. So let's start protecting ourselves and our daughters. I just ate some pate, so I got a little bit of smacking. So let's start sharing these phrases with each other. So anything that you have that you would, a time that you spoke up for yourself, a time that you spoke up for someone else, a time that you prevented an unwanted or uninvited contact in some way, please share those so we can start creating this great body of work. And I will start to, I'm going to create a spot for that so we can all have this repository. And so then you can and then I'll start organizing it into categories so we can start to share these kind of phrases and strategies amongst each other so we can all be prepared. Because what we want is to get it into our mental and muscle memory, to start practicing these scenarios. In the True Shield Verbal Self-Defense course for Girl, it's all action-based. It's all role play. And this is what I do with my media training clients too. We actually put ourselves in the situation so we can see how we would respond under pressure, because you don't know how you're going to respond if you've never been in the situation before. So let's start practicing these, even with each other. Practicing these with each other. So prsecrets.com, True Shield Verbal Self-Defense for Girls. Please put your comments below if you like these tips. I would love it if you subscribed, and I love to hear from you, and I can't wait to see you again.